Hi everyone, today I'm here with the notorious Posie Parker, and she's going to talk to us about her experience of being persecuted by the West Yorkshire Police for offensive tweets. So first off,
I'm going to have to put these on.
That's alright. So you first heard from the police when, and what did they say to you?
So I first heard from the police in early February, and they said that there'd been some reports of offensive tweets. Somebody had made a complaint, and I was quite shocked when they said it was Susie Green from Mermaids.
Just for people who don't know, what is Mermaids?
Mermaids started out as a sort of a parent support group for gender confused children. And it's turned into sort of quite a big, monstrous thing, including lobbying, campaigning, and just indoctrinating kids, I think, into transgender ideology.
And what's their relationship with West Yorkshire Police?
They had gone into West Yorkshire Police to train them on transgender issues and gender spectrum. And they, I think it's still on Twitter actually, one of the police tweeted it, which is how I know. It's a load of bodies, like the sort of stickman signs you'd see on toilet doors. And it starts with a curvy pink Barbie type thing, and it goes right up to a brown G.I. Joe. And the pink Barbie is you're definitely a girl, and the G.I. Joe is you're a boy. And then you've got non-binary stuff of yellow and green and so on in the middle.
What's that have to do with police?
You know, I've got a nice house. If there were some burglars downstairs and the police came, I'd want to know that the burglars were addressed correctly with their pronouns and they weren't misgendered.
I don't see you fucking can! My pronouns are they!
I don't care about your pronouns.
So what did the police say? They said there's offensive tweets. Did they tell you to come down the station? Did they arrest you? What happened?
They did actually ask me if I would go up to Leeds, because that's
Leeds
what you want to
quite
do.
Far away
Yeah,
from
I'd want to travel, you know, a 9-hour round trip.
And that's
The police
presumably
station.
because the police force in your area wouldn't have taken this kind of complaint seriously.
No, I can't imagine they would. I can. There's a number of reasons I sort of think that they didn't send it to the local police force. None of them are good. But I understand from friends that it's commonplace for such low-level crime, even if there was a crime, which I don't believe there ever was, but for such low-level crime, you would just refer that on to the local police force, and they would question me.
Yeah. It seems quite odd.
Well, because it was tweets, it was written stuff. It wasn't like there was some like shaky evidence where they had to like look me in the eye and ask me if I was lying.
So I'm assuming that you said no to their request to go to Leeds, did
Yes.
you? So what happened then?
Well, they said, okay, we'll arrange an interview with you. And the guy was really friendly and chatty on the phone. Probably said a little bit too much. And he said it was a test case, and that there were a number of crimes they were looking to charge me with, and how it's
those
probably
crimes
shocking.
were?
Oh, malicious communications, nuisance, public order, and hate speech, I think. But they also questioned me about conspiracy in the interview.
Conspiracy to what?
Well, they sort of alluded to the fact that I was working with Lily Maynard and Fourth Wave Now. Like, did I know them?
Wow. And what's wrong with knowing them?
I don't know.
So they sent a bunch of West Yorkshire police to your area.
Yep.
And they had to stay in a hotel overnight?
Yeah, they stayed in a hotel. But they also said that if I didn't attend the interview, then I would go on a wanted list. And the first time he said it, I said, "Oh, I'm always wanted. I'm on every wanted list." Thinking I
know the feeling.
And then he said, and it was light. And then after we asked for disclosure, after they sort of provided my solicitor with the evidence of like the charge, or what they would look to interview me about, they said wanted again, and he was far less friendly. He was really, really quite unfriendly. And I said, "What does wanted mean?" He said, "Well, it means if you try to leave the country, we'll arrest you. And if you drive and get pulled over on the road, we'll arrest you. And then he said some other things which I don't recall, and then he said, and if you don't, if that doesn't happen and the local force come round to arrest you, then you'll be waiting in the police cells a long time, because it's really far from West Yorkshire.
What, so they'd have to transfer you to West Yorkshire?
No, I'd have to wait in the cells.
That's crazy. And so what did your solicitor say when they said that they'd arrest you? Is that legal?
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think if the police want to interview you under caution and you decide not to cooperate, then they can arrest you.
I would have assumed that you can't restrict people's freedoms if they haven't been charged with a crime. But
this is 2018.
So you went to the interview, and after the interview, they obviously decided whether they were going to send it to the CPS.
Yeah.
Or not. And what was the outcome of that?
I've not been charged.
Okay. So
they decided
is
not
it
to
hanging
proceed.
over your head, or?
Well, they have insinuated, and I don't know which way they have done this, but I have been told that they know I'm still very active on social media.
Oh, so they're keeping an eye on
Yeah.
you. I mean, what does that even mean?
I don't know, I sort of feel it's more sinister, because at least with the tweets about the castration, about Susie Green,
Yeah.
and about the CEO of Mermaids often, I don't even know if I always named her. I don't want to misrepresent the truth. I genuinely can't
We've got the
remember.
tweets, and I'll put a link to them in the description. How did the police find out that you Posie, because Posie Parker's not your real name, how did they find out it was you?
Well, apparently, Susie Green reported me sort of July, August. It took them until February to contact me, because they had to get my details from Twitter.
Right, so Twitter didn't ask for a warrant or anything like that?
I have no idea. I don't know why they gave my details to the British law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, because it's bizarre, because you trust the company with your details.
And they've never notified, as far as I remember, they haven't notified me to say that anyone was looking at my tweets and they've released my details.
So that's something to be aware of if you're using Twitter under an anonymous pseudonym.
Yeah.
So they're sort of keeping an eye on you, but they haven't decided to press charges.
Yeah, they haven't, and because it's like a weird law that it relied on Susie Green to be grossly offensive.
Yeah.
I don't think I had to show intent.
Yeah, so the intent wasn't relevant, it was just...
Or maybe it was, I don't know.
Well, they decide what your intent is apparently nowadays. I mean, we've seen this with the Count Dankula, the Count Dankula case, where he's been convicted and found guilty in court of making... Well, I don't know what the actual crime it is that he's been charged with.
A gross offence, I would imagine.
Was it?
But
Do you think the same?
Yeah, the really interesting thing about him is, at first there were loads of people, like virtue signalling, lefty, well-known comedians that were all like helping. And I think Ricky Gervais I'm not grouping in that group. I think he genuinely, his notion of free speech seems to be, you really can say anything, and you're allowed to say it, and you're allowed to be offended, and you're allowed to be offensive. However, some of these other guys, who I won't name, there's a couple of comedians that sort of supported him, and then I watched their support changed as right-wing, high-profile right-wing people, like Tommy Robinson came out and supported him.
Yeah.
But this was after, and as far as I am aware, the people on the right are more invested in free speech. Now that may be for really, really positive reasons. It might be negative. It depends whether you're right wing and you agree with them or whatever.
Yeah.
But Dankula then got completely tainted with this notion that he's right wing.
Yeah.
And therefore he sort of could retrospectively be blamed that his video that was supposed to be funny was actually part of his commentary because he was right wing.
Yeah, when he doesn't do political commentary.
No,
really.
I think it was just
I think
bad
he's done
taste.
Yeah, it was just a bad taste video.
But quite
annoy his girlfriend.
I mean, I'm not saying that I think anything that he did was funny.
But I certainly don't think it was a recruitment video of any sort. I've seen it myself.
I mean, I've got a pug.
So yeah, there is a sort of weird phenomenon where the right has become sort of grabbed onto the whole free speech thing. Why do you think that you were singled out? Because there's a lot of people that are critical of mermaids, you know, on especially on Twitter. Why do you think your tweets were singled out? Why do you think you were singled out?
I don't know. Sometimes I think it was maybe pin the tail on the non-binary donkey, and it was just potluck. Sometimes I think maybe they thought I was an easy target. I think the other people that were accused at the same time as me...
Were they based in America?
Yeah, so they said they couldn't find them. But also, those people are sort of clear activists belonging to organisations or having a real history of... one of the people speaks often about their daughter who was gender non-conforming and got rapid onset gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
So that would be a really poor person to target.
Yeah.
Because that's a mother of a daughter speaking mainly about her experience.
Yeah.
So I think I was just easy. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I mean, they've obviously realised since that you've got a tremendous amount of support.
I'm not a minority group.
Yeah.
I'm not a gender non-conforming lesbian. I'm really boring. John Lewis do a marketing campaign. I'm one of the people they're considering because I've got the money, as in the purse strings, not I've got money. But I'm heterosexual. I'm a stay-at-home mother. I'm happily married. I live in the middle of kind of nowhere special. I'm left-wing and I'm a feminist, so I can't be accused of being a right-wing Christian bigot.
Yeah.
So they lose... I don't get to be a competing group.
You've managed to get the support from the feminists and the right, which is quite...
and some sceptics, so some of the left-wing sceptics that do care about free speech.
Yeah.
And actually, I think more people that came sort of across my cause from the free speech angle, I think most of them are horrified about the whole transing of children.
Yeah, I think most people are actually. I mean, which is why it's scary that mermaids are trying to push for, a landmark case like yours could have been, to silence people who criticise, transing of children.
But can you imagine if they won? Can you imagine if I was found guilty? I mean, what law is next? What next is going to be the next poll back on the free speech that we lose? But who knew that saying that you think it's abuse to do that to a 16-year-old?
You can't say that it's wrong to castrate a 16-year-old boy when it's illegal in this country, and it's now illegal in Thailand as well. So
yeah.
If you can't criticise that, you can't stop it from happening.
I think if she insisted that he had a stretcher in his cheek, we'd all be quite appalled.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get a tattoo until you're 18.
No.
And rightfully so.
You can't have a drink. You can't get pissed.
No.
Until you're 18.
No, you can't do anything because you're still a child.
Yeah, and you can't possibly manage the consequences of something like alcohol.
Yeah.
But you
I
can
can't manage the consequences of it today, I have to say.
I'm feeling mighty well.
Magdalen on the mic, representing.
So, where do people go? They want to find out more about you, what you're up to now in response to this, because obviously you've been persecuted for having an opinion. You've been speaking yesterday in Bristol about this, and you spoke at the Westminster a few weeks ago about it, and set up a YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I've got that's just the Posie Parker on YouTube.
So check the Posie Parker on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description, and your website.
is www.theposieparker.com.
And the offending Twitter account?
@theposieparker. And there will be name changes frequently to include something from 1984, because I've read a book.
If you like this video, please share it around.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G. Snoop Dogg. You know I'm mobbing with the D.R.E.